in modifying your own items, things that you've purchased. And maybe this highlights the whole benefit of free and open source software. When you have this software on your machine, you are free to modify it, to tinker with it. So it was just a point I wanted to bring up, and I think now, I could be wrong, but I think the bounty for this open source drive has gone up to £3,000. It certainly will if Microsoft make any more press releases. I think that's the sort of gist from Adafruit. I can't quite see what's in it for Adafruit yet, but I haven't looked properly at their site and what they offer, so maybe it's something that would benefit them as well, and if one of these was released or somebody did the work. Moving on, I'll have a look at a couple of other things that I picked up. Let's have a look. We've got a bit of good news, something that Linux has been missing, I think, for a while, and that's a decent arcade, non-long drawn-out simulator type shoot 'em up flight simulator. Diaspora, and I hope I pronounced that right, is a Battlestar Galactica inspired type game, which offers multiplayer. And it's basically a shoot 'em up, and it looks absolutely fantastic. The link is going to be in the show notes, certainly on my site, and I would encourage everybody to have a look at the trailer. It doesn't yet seem to give any indicator of when it's going to be released, but from looking at the video, it seems to be pretty much in the advanced stages of completion. They claim, the developers, that they're going to release it in an episodic type way. As to what that means, I haven't unfortunately had the time to delve deeper, but get yourself over to the link when I put it up and have a look, because it's certainly very impressive. And if you wanted to showcase that, there's some very, very good native Linux games out there. I think Diaspora will be one of the ones to show people. So that was that. We had about the government announces copyright law review. Now, this was something that I've looked over quickly, but basically has David Cameron, our Prime Minister, speaking over the copyright law and possible future amendments to it. He's quoted as saying, over there in the US, they have what's called the fair use provisions, which some people believe gives companies more breathing space to create new products and services. And he goes on in detail to discuss about copyright law, and seems to me to be looking to America to be the lead in effective copyright law. That comes on the back of something which he probably wasn't aware of, and that's the news recently that the RIAA won a court battle, which has been dragging on since, I believe, 2006, 2007, where they've been awarded $1.5 million of damages for 24 songs that were shared by a file sharer in 2006. I certainly know I keep on top of what's happening with the 4chan and Anonymous and the LOIC, which has been a part of a campaign against many companies and a protest against copyright law. And I certainly don't think that I think, and I would hope American people would agree, that the American copyright law is not something that is any better than what we have over here. And certainly if we're looking to the future for a better...
Yeah. It's not exactly a case of copyright law as much as in this case you're talking about enforcement of a specific case based on specific claims, but they try to make a case to make people quite fearful of sharing. If you try to generalize that to copyright law in general, I think that's kind of a anecdotal thing, and that's kind of
possibly. I mean,
yeah.
It's from how I read the article and from how I read the releases, it implies that the whole ethos of sharing and fair use. I mean, we have something in the copyright law over here called time shifting, which is one of the sort of I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a case.
No.
That's a test case of fair use, or I'm actually on the side of trying to give a penalty that's reasonable, or I don't know. I think in Finland they had a person share maybe 50 songs or something around this area, and the fine was about $1,000 worth, kind of the equivalent of that, and that's kind of reasonable. The person was, was actually sued for it.
I mean, the point I bring it up is not because we can't sort of give any specific comparisons between the two countries in this show, because it would take a lot longer than just a few minutes. But the point was if we're going to be looking at revisions to everything in relation to copyright and copyright law, the enforcement of it, civil and criminal, we shouldn't be necessarily looking at other countries, for example. We should be looking at our own implementation of it now and currently what's needed by or what's wanted by the public. I certainly don't think we should be, sort of looking to other countries and seeing what they're doing. I think we should be developing it for our own, fit for purpose for our own community and for our own nation. That was my take on it. He then, something you might want to make a comment on, and it really isn't particular news, but it was the Silicon Valley story where there's going to be a new Silicon Valley, or the UK's version of Silicon Valley in Shoreditch. It's apparently going to attract new, innovative business, and I don't know if you have any comment on that. I'm a bit skeptical of it.
Yeah. I saw Simon Phipps was trying to kind of connect the two stories, or that's the impression I got. There is this kind of very broadly spread misconception about innovation and businesses coming from copyrights and, so-called IP law and, like, basically, let's just change the law slightly, and all of a sudden we got all these big companies like Google growing out of Europe, or we have Oracle, and I think the capital is one of the things they need to ensure the companies have. The other things is things like the laws which prevent a company like Facebook from coming to the UK, or from actually being created in the UK. I think very much the fear of anything that damages a person's reputation and not just libel. In the case of Facebook, they spoke of a person in UCL who was starting to do a site very similar to Facebook, but a certain committee or something was trying to stop him before he could get off the ground, based on the fact that he was jeopardizing people's privacy and so on and all that stuff. If you know the roots of Facebook, and I find lots of people don't know that, but the story of Mark, and I should say just very fast, he was actually breaking some rules, and he would get in lots of trouble in college because he took people's photos without permission and ran a whole website where people just take people's photos and rank them and stuff, and which is not only a copyright violation, but it's very much abusive to the people whose picture he took. And later on, he kind of cheated all kinds of partners he worked with to create the site. Lots of people think of the site as very innocent, and now they do the whole PR routine. And it just reminded me very much of how Microsoft was created, and fishing all kinds of codes out of the garbage cans, and cheating all kinds of companies and exploiting companies. And people don't know about these stories unless they're like 50s, or probably people who work in IT and people in their 50s or 60s who actually understood that at the time. I don't think people will know this too well in the future. So in any case, the reasons they try to change the copyright law is to improve Britain in some way, or to encourage people to come to the UK to run businesses. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. It's still the whole thing of like, patents must be equal to innovation, and if you give people more patents and you give people more litigation rights, you might be luring them into the country, but it's very much the opposite. It's just they don't look at the right parameters in this case. The other thing is libel law for journalists. That's definitely a turn off. I find that you find lots of people quite concerned about writing certain things in the UK, and you don't have many exposés as you could have had because people are so much afraid of publishing now.
I mean, the reason why you may well disagree with me, but the reason why I was linking originally with the when I made reference to the copyright law and what Mr. Cameron was talking about, he's also quoted as saying, and this was, I believe, later on in the talk. So I can announce today that we are reviewing our IP laws to see if we can make them fit for the internet age. No further details. I want to encourage the sort of creative innovation that exists in America, and that was my concern. What I see, and this is why we moved on to the Silicon Valley in Shoreditch, it seems that we're looking towards other countries for our inspiration and for our ideas, our creative ideas, when really we should be looking in on ourselves as to what we require and what we're actually doing at the moment. I mean, I know of many great projects in the UK, some